Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. So often in these meetings, the end of the day is a channeling that is personal. It's often more for those in the group here live than anyone who might be listening. Indeed, those who listen will glean the energy, perhaps. Maybe there'll be some information that is new to them. I am so aware, dear ones, of who is here. Spirit knows who's listening, no matter when they listen. A year from now, 2 years, there is a potential of who is listening. Even now, I can tell you. It's in the future, but the potential is there, and Spirit knows the time is in this beautiful circle. But even though there is that, I want to speak to you here before me. Humans all. I have never been a human. There is enamorment, if you can call that, from this angelic source. Not just the love. I know how you tick. I know how you work. I know what you think. And that is why I'm here. To try to soothe the soul who wants to make up things, who wants to get involved perhaps in the dramas that are not even there. In order to help you across this beautiful time passage of the old energy to the new. My partner asked the question when he was fully aware that he would be channeling for the rest of his life. He asked me the question, why now? He said, why at this age? And I told him then there was no age. And it was the beginning of his teaching and his learning about his own body and about something that lurked within it, which is not understood but used so much by those who are sitting in the chairs. We have defined it in so many ways. We have put it in ways that split it apart and put it back together. We've given it numbers of names, but the one you know is innate. We've defined where it goes in the scheme of the 9. We've told you where it goes in the scheme of the 3. Innate is so special for you. And innate is something that responds to consciousness. Let's start at the beginning. Every single human has an esoteric body that is called the innate. Would you say it was biological? It is linked to your biology, so much so that you call it the smart body. Is it linked to spirit? Yes. It is linked to that which is your higher self and also to the biology of your higher self, the pineal. Is it part of your heart and brain? Absolutely. Does it govern things? No. What it does is communicate. And so the innate is the great communicator of your body. It helps give you information and it also receives it. The body itself has its own healing mechanism. We've told you about the health template We've told you about the Genesis cells. We've given you information that the body stands ready to take information in through the innate. And then the innate communicates to the cells. The cells are always listening, and consciousness is the overview of all of it. Now, why I'm giving you this, which is a review, is because I would like to describe something that some of you are already doing. But it's so beautiful. It's an enhanced tool. In this age, dear ones, I'm going to give you information of an enhanced tool that you can use with Innate. Some of you, as I say, will simply hear the definition of what you've already been doing. And for some of you, you need to hear this. And so you have the human body with this wonderful, esoteric body called Innate. Some would ask it, where is it? And the answer is everywhere. Is it the Merkaba of the body? No, but it is linked to it. So that smart body, which is the Innate, is part of the bridge, you might say, between the 3D and the multi-D. It is that part of the body that communicates with all of the cells at once, if needed. It's the part of the body, literally, that can receive from you the profound consciousness and transform it to spontaneous remission. That is the Innate. It's that part of the body that you can muscle test. It's the smart part. It's the smart part that responds to the tapping. It's the smart part that responds to that which is being interviewed by another human. Innate. Now I have a question for you. And it is a question that may be esoteric, but it has a very, very easy answer. The human being, biologically, may be out of balance. Perhaps that even creates a mental problem. Perhaps the human is in psychosis. Perhaps the human is so far out of balance that they've had to seek a healer of some kind. And there they lay on the table. Question: is the innate also unbalanced? The answer, as you very well know, is it's always balanced. The innate is connected to source. So it doesn't matter how out of balance the human being is. Innate is always pure, always ready. This is the reason, dear ones, affirmations work. For even if you are seeking balance and don't have it in some part of your body or your psyche or your consciousness, the secret to balance has always been the fact that you have something in you which is always balanced. And that is listening and will bring you back into that place. Whether it's health or mental or consciousness or fear. Now you know that when you open the meditation that you do or you speak to God, you're dealing with another part of you which is always balanced, which is connected to Source and the higher self and the pineal and ready to go. This is the most beautiful engine of the human being that exists in you, because it is always balanced and always ready. There's two bridges. One is you to innate, and the other one is innate to spirit. Innate to spirit is always controlled by the energy of the planet. Did you get that? So if the planet is in a low state of energy, there's a veil. And as good as it wants to, innate can only go through that veil to the degree that you will allow it through the consciousness of the planet. That is shifting. So right away, I am telling you that the innate is able to cross that bridge through the pineal and the higher self to talk to spirit and get that which is what you deserve. Based upon the peace of God in you, the veil, as defined, is lifting slightly. It requires you, however, to cross the other bridge. And that's the one from you to innate. That's the hardest one. We've spoken of it before. It requires that you cognize the system. Simpler words. It requires you believe it. And that is difficult because that has not necessarily been taught in this particular way. How many times have you heard in order to get to God, you've got to suffer a little? You just broke the bridge. How many times have you been told that you better get on your knees because God is up there and you're down here and you're not worthy? Well, if you believed it, you just broke the bridge. The bridge expects you to understand there is magnificence here. To raise up out of your seat, to be proud enough to say, "Dear innate," and then state who you are. Give the affirmations, knowing that you're worthy. Because you have inside you God. The energy of what you would say is the Christ itself is in you. This is taught here. It's written on the walls here. And maybe that's why you're here this day. To know that God dwells in you to such a degree that the bridges can be built so easily. But that's not what I want to tell you. Question. If a human is out of balance, is innate out of balance? No, innate is perfect. Innate is pure. And so item number one, you can heal yourself through innate. But this is the question that has been on the minds of healers for so long. And the question is that if your innate is in balance, can you somehow transfer that to an unbalanced human being? It's well known that it is difficult for any human to muscle test someone else with their muscles. Can you muscle test with your innate someone else? The jury is still out because you're not really asking the right question. Let me tell you something that healers know. There's some of you, no matter what profession you say you're in, who are soul communicators. You'll step into the room before the patient opens their mouth. You know what's wrong. Medical intuitives can look at a human being and know what's wrong. By the way, they also can see what's right because they see a picture. The picture is not in 3D or 2D or even 4D. It is something that is perceived by their innate. So suddenly I'm telling you something that you already know, but that I've just given you the process. Your innate can sense someone else's innate and give you information about it. Now that's called a gift. But what if this gift were starting to expand? What if it was expanding to the degree that it starts to involve your intuition. So that you could literally stand in front of somebody else and know what they're thinking, or what their unbalance is, or what to say to them to give them peace. This is an expanded gift of healing, but it goes beyond that. What I'm telling you is this, is that your innates are starting to overlap because you're allowing it through a higher consciousness, and the timing of this shift is starting to give you an enhanced ability to do this. I have just given you the secret of an enhanced, evolved human being, and why you will never go to war someday. Because you will be expanding this so that you'll feel the other people, and so you will have the compassion to know what they're going through and what they're like. Instead of an old way of wondering, of trying and tricking, or surrounding yourself and competing. What if there comes a time when compassion is something the whole group feels for one another instantly just because you're together? Ask a healer in this room, is it possible that you can sense what's wrong and what's right with the patient? And they'll say, yes, I do it all the time. Now extend that. Make the field bigger. If you don't think you've had the gift, I will tell you it's sitting there waiting for you to cross the bridge. And you'll say, well, I'm not a healer. Dear ones, what I am saying to you is, wouldn't it be nice to feel what the other person next to you is about, so that you can give them the right information, so you can give them the right emotions, so you can create coherence together. You're not muscle testing your innate for someone else. You're actually combining the fields of two innates so that you can sense what they sense, but so that they can also sense the balance you have. It helps the healer to know where to go, what to touch, what to say. It helps the medical intuitive to identify and help heal. What if it stopped being an extraordinary gift and instead became common? It's happening. Healers in the room are going to hear it in a way they've never done before. They're going to have an enhanced feeling of their senses. They'll be able to know things that they haven't known before, because the senses that they didn't think were involved suddenly are. Some will smell it. This is an enhancement of a human being who will start to evolve with everything you have. But the best one that's coming is the combining of innates in such a way that there is understanding and communication and compassion between souls. Do you think that would help you in the workplace? Oh, yes. Do you think it would help you understand your boss? Not just understand, but be compassionate. In order to give that boss balance, understanding, productivity, because of that. Do you think it might help you with your children? Oh, I have something to tell you about your children. They already have it. That is why some adults don't want to be with certain young people at a certain age. Did you know that? Because those young people look right through you. You know what they're thinking. You're exposed. They already know. Some of you have experienced this. It's an uncomfortable feeling, isn't it? That's what I'm talking about. But they're not looking at you in judgment. They're looking at the compassion factor. Do you think it could help you in relationships with your partner? I know who's here. Listen. Do you think you have a partner you've distanced yourself so far from that there's no hope? I know who's here. Listen, I know who's here. I want to tell you that that spark of compassion is still there. It still is there. To be able to combine that, if you choose to, with understanding and peace, it's like reaching out and holding their hand for the first time. Because that's pure. And that's possible. It's new. It's part of the evolution of humankind. I have seen this before. Dear ones, there have those who have had a question that really hasn't been asked. Kryon, were you with the Pleiadians when they went through this? Was there a Kryon channel for the Pleiadians? Yes. Yes. And yes. Wasn't called Kryon because they didn't speak your language. Difficult to pronounce because they had vocal cords that were different, split into two, making double sounds in speech at the same time. But dear ones, I was there and I watched what you are going through today back then. Did the planet that seeded them go through it? Yes. Was there a Kryon? Yes. What I'm telling you is this. This is beautiful. There is precedent. It's not new. I have seen it. All of you have free choice. And the free choice just tempers whether you believe in the bridge, whether you'll use the bridge, or how quickly you'll understand the bridge. But the bridge is there. It's there to be crossed, just like for all of those races on the other planets before you. Biology, a little different. Humanoid, yes. But dear ones, the innate was the same because it's connected to spirit. God is God. And they had the same God that you have. That's why their graduate planet was so beautiful, because it exemplified that love that you feel right now. The seed that was put into you by the Pleiadians to give you 23 three-dimensional pairs of chromosomes and one multi-dimensional pair, number 24, is the Pleiadian. And that is the same God that created this planet. Is in them, is in you. And the one that helped create this beautiful ground and the village that you're in. I've seen this before. And all I'm telling you is this is the beginning for old souls of a new time. Question, is it too new for you? Will you cross the bridge? Will you wait till you come back when it's easier? Or will you take the gauntlet that I've thrown down to you and said, what is age? Do you have any idea how your body is designed? If you had an idea, it's not designed to age. Are you aware of that? It rejuvenates itself. That's not a body designed to age. And the only thing that ages you is that DNA, which is only working at about 33 to 34%, that makes the replication of your cells less than it should be, where the telomeres start to shorten instead of staying the same length. That is changeable with the bridge. You cross the bridge, you start talking to Innate, you give it instructions, stop aging. And you can watch it in the mirror. You can watch your friends who don't have this information that you wish did and won't have it. They will age much faster than you. I throw down the gauntlet and say, do it and see if I'm right. Can you slow down the body clock? Yes. Hundreds of years. Your body is designed to last hundreds of years. That's the plan. When you start aging less as a civilization, you'll have all kinds of medical journals. Be front page. What's happening to humanity? Why is it that you're living so much longer with so fewer drugs? And that magazine cover is coming. It takes a while. Your body is so ready for you, for a consciousness that is grown up. It's time for the grown up to come out of there and talk to the bridge and say, I know you. Let's get going. I sit in a magnificent place designed for channelers, designed for listeners, in a chapel that was built for prayer, for an age that the creators actually saw coming. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
But it's time now for a brief meditation and a channel from Kryon. And so we ask you to take a moment and just allow yourself to come into a quiet space. Relax all the tension out of your body. Relax your face, relax your shoulders, relax your arms and hands, relax your legs, relax your knees, your calves, your feet. And just feel the connection with the energy of the earth beneath you. And allow yourself to feel a warm embrace from all those who are sharing this experience with you. And we'll send out a wave of loving hugs to everyone that is gathered. And stand by for the first channeled message from Kryon for the Healing Wednesday of 2021.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. I have said this before. There are so many who would ask, do those from the other side of the veil whom I represent, are they truly aware of what humanity is going through? And the answer is more than you know. And the reason is this, because you have separated us so completely, made us something that is on high and you are on low. You have put a barrier, a wall, often between the creative source and yourself. You can see the barrier very clearly when you look at the protocols and the doctrines of the many spirituality groups and doctrines and religions on the planet. There is so much worship and bowing down to that which you see as so sacred, but you don't include it as being anything that you are as well. Dear ones, we have said it before, you are a piece of the Creator. And this is the truth. Perhaps it is the largest truth that we have ever spoken. And we have spoken it for 30 years. There's no separation. We are so aware of what you're going through because we are going through it with you. Indeed, you are never alone. Indeed, you are dearly loved. Indeed, there is something between us that is more than just a relationship. Inside you, at the cellular level, you might even say at the most smallest important pieces of you, even the DNA and smaller, are multidimensional pieces of the Creator itself, made in His image. You've heard that. The image is love. All of you are the image of love. I would like to talk today about one of four things. It's a series for this month. And I'm going to call it The Four Faces of Fear. Now, right away, there will be those who are listening to this broadcast and saying, well, wait a minute. I'm not a subscriber, and that's going to exclude me from the other messages, and that is not so. Listen up. I told my partner years ago that every single channeling I do should be free, and that there should be a method to make them free for the world. As many channels as possible, as many channels that are recorded, should be given away, and they are. There is a place on my partner's website where you can go and hear everything that we have ever channeled. There is one channel per Healing Wednesday, and they will indeed go to this place. Eventually, you'll see them all. So do not feel excluded as I present number 1 of 4, because you can hear all 4 if you choose. The subject, the 4 faces of fear. I say faces because that's what you look at. I didn't say attributes because that gives it perhaps a little more emphasis. It's a face. What do you know about a face? Everything is a metaphor. Dear ones, do I have to tell you that again? Even in the channeling, even in the messages, even in the language you hear it, there are metaphors. I'll say many things that sound odd until you understand the metaphor. What do you know about a face? First of all, you recognize a face and you can see where a face is friendly or not. But every single face is changeable. You can smile, you can frown. We have been saying these things, and now it comes to a head, a point, a focus. Here is the statement. You should hear it yet again. The opposite of healing is fear. If you are fearful, dear ones, nothing that is presented in any of these programs truly can get around that. That's the face that you have chosen for yourself. That particular face, dear ones, is a face that will interrupt almost anything that we can give you. We can't get past fear. You can't get past fear. It stops it all. Kryon, are you really saying that there's a barrier that even with good health and with good nutrition and all those things? Yes. That's what I'm telling you. Because true healing is done with a consciousness and not objects and not simply remedies. It has to do with your consciousness agreeing with what you're doing in order to send your body messages of hope and joy, compassion and healing. And if you're afraid, it all simply stops at that wall called fear. 4 faces I want to talk about the first one. It's the 3D one. It's the duality one. It's the most basic one. And there will be those of you who say it can't change. This cannot change. Oh, yes, it can. Survival. You are born with the fears that accompany survival. Intuitively. Born, fear of the dark. Fear, by the way, that you might be eaten. Now you'll say, wait a minute, we're not going to be eaten. Really. Because that fear goes from the old days of being afraid of being eaten by the Bengal tiger to being eaten by your peers or your situation or those around you or your competition. Do you see where I'm going? It's the fear of being eaten by that which you cannot control. There's more. The fear that you will not then survive because you are not perhaps good enough. These are basic survival instincts, you might say. A psychologist will say, that's correct. You come in with them. Any mother knows this. How long does it take for you to understand that within the child that you have, that you're looking at and that you love so much, they're all the things you never taught them. There's jealousy and rage and competition and greed and all of those basic instincts, the immaturity, no elegance yet. It's all there, and you didn't ask anything to them or teach anything to them to get them in that modality. It just came with the package, didn't it? So you know I'm right. Now what I'm going to tell you this. Now we're going to talk about solutions. First of all, a statement. Even though these things are instinctual and you come in with them, they are programs. That's all they are. Call them engrams, if you wish. They are stamped upon your psyche, and they are not hardwired. There's a difference. There's not really much that's hardwired except how your body functions. Everything else, especially in the consciousness, is a program. You come in with a legacy of the energy of the planet that supersedes you. All that has happened with low and high consciousness and duality for eons is stamped upon you, and you come in afraid. That is a program. And like every program that you've heard on these shows, all the things, it can be rewritten. It is rewritable. Interesting. Why does it show itself the way it does? It's almost like what you see, dear ones, with oil and water. You might have a glass of water and a little oil on it, and the oil stays on top. Let's say you're looking at the glass of water, which is a metaphor here of your consciousness when you arrive on the planet, and there's the oil representing all the negative things that's on top. It's only a fraction of the fluid, of the majesty, the joy, the compassion that is underneath that oil that's just floating on top. You got to get through the oil. You got to scrape it off. You can rewrite it. But it floats on top, and that's the first thing that you experience, and you got to get through. I want to tell you a story. It's a story about a child. The child will remain nameless, a little girl. I want to tell you what she experienced and what she did, because this is a wise little girl. You might say that this little girl kind of knew how things worked and figured it out for herself. There was one night when she went to bed. And when she woke up in the middle of the night, for whatever reason, she looked over and she got chills, because in the chair that was in her room was a horrible creature. She could just make out almost every single shade of its face, of its body, and it was just looking at her, and it wasn't moving. It was just staring at her. She was so afraid. Afraid of the dark, afraid of what was in the dark, of course. All these instinctual things that she had. Her mom came into the room because she was whimpering. Turned on the light. And she realized that the monster was a clump of used clothing that she had simply put in the chair. That her imagination and her fear had created all of the things that she was certain of that were going to leap out of the chair and eat her, or worse. And all of these things she realized were there. When her mother turned off the light, interestingly enough, the monster returned in her mind, and she realized that this was something that was going to happen over and over. It was impossible for her to rewrite this. It was instinctual. And what she did, I want you to listen carefully. She created an angel. Whether it was a clump of clothes or whether it's something she hung by the door, that superseded anything that was dark. And when she went to sleep and when the light was off, she could look at that and say, "Dear angel," and she gave it a name. "Let nothing inappropriate be presented to me tonight in either my dreams or my room, because I'm protected." What a wise little girl. How about you? That was all a metaphor, and that was about a child. How about you right now? Can you create something that says, "I am magnificent, and there is nothing that has come in that is more powerful than my magnificence, nothing that has come in with my birth that I would call fear of darkness or any of the phobias. It's all rewritable. And I am rewriting it because my magnificence will shine through anything dark." Does that work? Oh, yes. Just like the little girl. It works so well because you are creating you. Rewriting the things that are inappropriate, that have come in, that do not reflect you at all. Don't reflect your magnificence at all. That's just the beginning of what you can do. As I describe the other three fears, you're going to find a similarity of solution in every single one of them. But they are all in your control. That's the magnificent human that I know. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The channeling this evening is going to be different. We'll speak about things we really have not spoken much about. It is about the complexity of the human spiritual system. And before we begin, just an acknowledgement of why we're here. The process of channeling, which will not always exist, is here for one reason. And that is to celebrate the human being. It is never here to accuse. It is never here to spread fear. It's never here to motivate you to do something you would not do otherwise. This is family at its best, who sits with you and holds your hand and tells you a story about your enablement, of how worthy you are, of how beautiful the system is. And if you sit in front of someone who says they're channeling and you don't hear that, be discernful of what is what. For the creative source of the universe and you are aligned in purpose, in compassion, in love. And even though a veil separates you from all of that, you can still feel it. Perhaps you can see it and feel it in my words. I was never a human. I am not necessarily a single entity, if you want to even say the word. I'm a voice from home, representing trillions and trillions of what you would call souls of God. God is bigger than you think, different than you think, more loving than you know, and far, far beyond that which is called human consciousness. God does not do human things. God does not have reactions to human things. There are no disputes in heaven with God. Only the compassion and the love that is as pure as anything you can conjure up, so that we can give you messages that are benevolent, kind, loving, and empowering. That's who God is. That's the kind of messages I bring. And I wanted to qualify that, if I never had before, of the purpose of channeling and what it's about. Never is it presented to conjure up a following. Never. It's just information for those who want to hear the truth of the beauty that surpasses any understanding of any human being. It's bigger than you know. I set up a pretense, a question. And the question is this: do you believe it's reasonable that as the energy and the system and what is old and what is new, as it shifts into a new paradigm, is it reasonable that the attributes would also change of anything that used to be? And if you are agreement to that, then you will not find this message controversial. You will welcome it and know that it's real. But there are those who will say God is always God, the systems are always the same, the reaction with humanity is always the same. Things that have been the same for 1,000 years will be therefore the same for the next 1,000, no matter what you do. And for those, you should close your ears to what's coming, because you won't like it. The beauty of this message, dear ones, is that the very intrinsic system, if you want to call it, of human spirituality that you have become used to is starting to change. We have concentrated almost exclusively on your change in consciousness, in DNA, your higher self, relation to God, all of these things. We've not really talked much about anything else until now. It has to make sense to you that in an older energy things were one way, in a new energy they begin to change. Perhaps one of the most stable things, and yet the most misunderstood, is the human Akash. It's stable in that you are aware of it. Let us again define it. Let's look at it together. The Akash is the energy of what has been. In the times that you have been on earth, which we would call your expressions of energy. You call them past lives. To you, life is everything. To us, we see life as passing. One to another to another. We see you in transition constantly. We always see you in transition. We see the soul which is you as ancient, and we also see it as forever. We see the potentials of your next life, all of you. It is your choice on this side of the veil, what you do, how you do it, but it's part of a system with the others who are also looking at the same thing. We never see a life. We see a system. In this, I say to you, especially those who have lost loved ones recently, that there is no death. You move from one system to another, from one paradigm to another. And the very essence, the personality, the soul, the beauty, the love, the compassion, all that you think is gone and lost isn't. It isn't. It's all still there, and the beauty of the system is that some of it passes to you, if you want to believe it or not, and others, part of the system goes literally into the veil of the earth, and it's complicated. Those human beings you think you've lost are still here in so many ways, and so are you in your past expressions. The complexity of the human system is far beyond anything that you've been told. Listen to me, every life expression you've ever had, part of your soul, goes into the planet and the grid when you leave and stays here. How does that make you feel to know that you're part of the dirt of the earth? That's part of the grid that starts to work with other human beings. Your wisdom and what you've learned stays here and works with your next incarnation. Don't be shocked and surprised when you walk into the forest and you feel family and you say, this is the greatest thing I ever felt, and you had no idea. You're feeling you. No wonder it feels good. What a system. But then there's the Akash. The Akash supposedly is an energetic record of what you've done. It is not organized in a linear fashion, and yet you want it to be. You want to then have a past life reader tell you who you've been and what happened, and the reader knows that all they're getting is a smattering of energy that is yours in the past. They cannot tell you really when. They can tell you what you're working on, what has been completed, what's beautiful about the cycle of the ones and the nines for you, and the freedom perhaps of karmic energy that you have now. And the Akash will be read like a book when it comes to that, and the numbers are obvious. It's also known for carrying past karmic energy. It's known for also prodding you to do other things. Sometimes the Akash gets in the way because there's unfinished energy. Things you have to dismiss, become unafraid of, learn from. That's all part of the past record brought forward to you today. There are those who carry biases, tremendous biases you're not even aware of. They're intrinsic. They're in you. They're in your DNA because of what happened to you last time or the time before, the time before. Remember, you shift in gender and race. You're everyone. So many things have happened to you you're not even aware of that you carry, and today something will happen and there'll be this knee-jerk reaction. A thought will occur and you'll say, where did that come from? Or perhaps you don't even care. You simply react. There are still so many of you who won't go near the water. Too many drownings have an impact. The fear of this and that and this and that carries through the Akash into today. And so much of what you're learning now, old soul, is how to work with it and dismiss it. But then, in the last two 3, 4 years, we've started talking about using the Akash differently. Use it as a storehouse of knowledge that you can pick from. What is it you used to have that you would like now? What about health? What about a longer life? You earned it. It's in your Akash. All of these things we talk about, the lack of fear, self-worth, courage, it's all in there. You've had it all. And we've talked about this. Can you go get it? Can you work on it? And the answer is yes. And you ask how? And we say the catalyst is your innate. That which is connected to your higher self will start to work with you to give you the things you need that you earned that are already there in your Akash. Now that's new. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. The system of the Akash is energy-driven, not time-driven. But it is an energy of what happened. Therefore, there is something we have never mentioned in public channel before. And it's called the Akashic template. Let me explain it this way. The system that you have is built to help you. Your Akash is present to help you. It is a benevolent system to push you and pull you away from the fears you've had, to present things that you have to solve, to have completion in your life as an old soul, to move forward with self-worth. And the past is involved because it's in your DNA. It won't go away. You can't delete it. But you can solve it. You can use consciousness to dismiss it. You can throw away your karma, which we've told you 26 years ago to do. You can get into a state with your higher self that your Akash will then agree with. You can start to rewrite the things that bothered you. But that's not what I want to talk about. The template is something that has happened over and over and over, and in total benevolence, this template is then applied to each life to help the next one. But the template is based on old energy. Old souls all carry an old template. New souls on the planet will not past 2017. The very Akashic template of a newborn will start to shift. The newborns will not necessarily carry an old energy into this life because the transition of the shift is over. The year of the 9 has been completed. The 1 year is here, and the template begins to change. Now let's stop talking about the newborn for a moment and talk about the old soul and what the template may mean and what it is doing, because you're going to be surprised. What is it a human being has? Lifetime after lifetime, expression after expression. You are culturally allied to the template and lifespan. How old do you get before you die? When does aging set in? And you might say, wait a minute, that's not benevolent. What if I told you it was, dear ones, in an old system that has you die and come back quickly so that you can continue a beautiful, beautiful system? That if you lasted too long, if you were here too far, you would miss out on coming back quickly. What if I told you that the template actually is alive and well in you, that is still working on an old assumption that you've got to leave this planet in order to come back with new information that we talk about? Dear ones, that is the old system. It's a system of old souls. You leave the planet and you come back and you continue while you're young. You pick up the wisdom and you continue. Now, some of you are starting to draw the picture already. In this new energy, you're going to last a lot longer. The very consciousness that is promoted by the shift is going to have the ability to solve health problems, consciousness problems, self-worth problems. You won't be dying of broken hearts. You won't be dying because you're desperate or you don't believe in yourself. And that's all part of the old template. That when you get into that scenario, you leave the planet and you come back so you can continue. But suddenly, that's not the way it is. You start to pick up things from the old Akash. It keeps you alive longer and healthier. You're able to share more. You're able to have mastery in your old age. The old 60 is 80. And you move forward. You have no idea how long you're built to live, dear ones, with the DNA that you have. We've said it before. 100 years, way too short. The human body is built to live hundreds of years. It self-replicates. It repairs. It keeps going. But in an old energy, it does it badly. In a new energy, it won't. And yet you're sitting there with an old template that is designed to kill you. How do you like it so far? I want to give you some wonderful news. You're in charge of your template. Totally and completely, as it should be. If you're one who simply looks down at your body and says, "Hi, body, I hope you last," it won't. It'll just do what it wants. But if you understand you're the boss and you're in charge of all your cells, that your DNA responds to the boss, the consciousness is everything. That is the system. The young people starting to be born on this planet right now will understand that better than any of you. They will last longer. They'll understand they're in charge intuitively without ever having a Kryon book. It will simply be in their innate. And their template will be responding to this new energy that they carry. Meanwhile, you've got to rewrite yours. It will respond, it will respond, it will respond. How do I say this to you? Some of you and some listening to this have this overwhelming feeling of how long you're going to live, and it's not going to be that long. When you're going to shut down, what diseases you're going to catch, and when it's all happening, because the template is the old one. Dear ones, it is not necessary for you to terminate to continue. It is not necessary for you to terminate to continue. It is not necessary to terminate to continue. It just isn't. It isn't. And all you have to do is start affirming that to the template. Talk to it. Dear cellular structure, I am here for the duration. And nothing in the past will determine the future of me. I will last as long as I should. In all appropriateness, I'll decide when it's time to go. not the old template, because I'm going to live longer and accomplish more because of it. I am an old soul. That's the information. And the controversy of it is there will be howls from those who say, no, no, no. No, the spirituality is the spirituality. It's always the same, always will be the same. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Not understanding. It's not God you're talking about, it's humans. The relationship to God is not the same forever. It's new. Real new. Oh, you're so enabled and you don't know it. What news could be better than this? Internally, spiritually, you are in control of the system. And it will not be in control of you. I want you to think of that when you face the doctor and he says something you don't like. And you can just smile and know better. The doctor may be correct completely based upon the past, but not what you know about the future. Blessed are the humans who understand this fully right now, who know what I speak of, who are ready to make a shift of consciousness, one that starts to define who they are instead of letting the past define who they are. And the beauty of this is this template of yours will respond, understand, know, and start to help you. It's not necessary to terminate at this time like you did before. Kryon, I don't fully understand what you're talking about. You will. When it's time to make the decision to stay. This is your legacy. This is why you came. This is the shift. Change is at hand. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Reaching the end of the day in a workshop is different than other times, for you've gotten to know one another. You've discussed perhaps some of the issues that you have. There's more coherence. That word alone means a connection. And whether it's a connection between those parts of your body or whether it's a connection between individuals, you can feel it. It's easier if you feel it than if you define it. Coherence is when you start to understand that there's an energy in the room. The energy loves each of you. The connection is complete when you start to visualize the silver strands of love and compassion of creation that go between each of you and make a puzzle complete. There was a day when my partner started to channel, and he was learning. And he saw others channeling. He didn't know which method was correct or what to do. He sat in the chair and he shut his eyes like he saw many do in meditation. That was the beginning. Not much took place out of the ordinary until he started doing it in front of larger groups. And energy started to develop around the group, not my partner. As the group developed coherence together, the coherence was the connection between them. And that which was the creative source, the source of the connection. And that is when my partner decided to open his eyes. he never did it again. It distracted him. It interrupted the channel. It broke the connection for him because what he saw, he was not prepared for. He saw light going between people. He saw colors around people. He saw the process of coherence, compassion, connection, love, whatever you want to say. It was too much. My partner says he's not a seer. He does not see energy. But while he is channeling, he does. And he would never open his eyes again because the channeling was interrupted. It was stopped. Because what he saw as a human being, he could not conceive of. It did not relate. It did not compute. And for a few moments, there was even fear. What he got to see was divinity between you. I want you to feel what he saw. And in the feeling of this, a little teaching. The difference truly between an older consciousness and a newer consciousness, between a time of darkness and light, between that, what was before 2012 and now, that is palatable for some of you. And there's a big difference. And part of it is what you are experiencing in the room. Coherence between individuals is much easier when you drop the barriers and try to feel and see God in each other. Can you sit next to a stranger and know absolutely that you're connected? You're connected because souls are big. They overlap one another. The energy is something that is collective. And you start to feel one another, even though you don't know each other. The difference between the old and the new, dear ones, is that there is far more coherence between you and the central source. And what this means is the old energy has you alone, working your puzzle alone, trying to figure out what you are supposed to do. A new energy in the light starts to give you a sense of coherence with everything around you, the puzzle around you, the people around you, and you get feedback. And in the old energy, you were not even sure. You didn't know. You questioned. You weren't certain. In the new energy, I'll give you a hint. We talk to you. We talk to you in situations. We talk to you in so many ways. And those who are in the old energy and used to the old energy are still perplexed. You don't understand what we're saying. So I want to talk about timing. Each and every one of you in the room listening is part of a grand puzzle between human beings on this puzzle, on this earth. Now, light workers, meaning old souls, you have a more complex puzzle than most. For you are awakening and cognizing the fact that there is more light than there was before, and you, of all human beings, know how to use it. You've been working the puzzle of light and dark for eons. The earth has an expanding population. That should tell you, where are the new souls coming from? They're coming from a pool of souls that haven't been here. And so that leaves you, who have, to guide the ones that have not. And you're not going to give them a course. What you're going to give them instead is coherence. love, compassion, understanding. But I want to talk about timing. You're unique. Each one of you, old souls, again, has a complete and separate path. What are you doing with your life right now? If you go around the room, if you sample who's listening, they'll all have a separate story. And so how can we give teaching instructions about how you're supposed to know if you're in the right place at the right time? Especially those of you who have a compelling feeling you're supposed to be doing something. So let's address that compelling feeling. It doesn't matter what the something is, dear ones, because it leads you into balance, or helping others, or helping yourself, or an exposition of the light that you carry. Almost all of you ask the question, whether it's how to discipline your child or whether it's how to write a book. These are the issues that make the difference in life, because you care, because you're asking Spirit, because you're asking other light workers, because you sit in the room or listen to the channel. There are so many projects and puzzles and issues. Let's address the projects. In an old energy, I give you a metaphor. You got a ticket to ride the train. Now that's a metaphor for you being given a push to do something. Now we have said this many times. The push creates a habit. The habit is what you've had from all authority since time has begun. When your father tells you to clean up your room, when does he mean clean up your room? And so the knee-jerk reaction to the push from Spirit to create something or do something, which comes through intuition, the result is do it now. And so you push yourself. That is an old energy aspect, and we have displayed it, expanded on it, and taught it for years. It's time for a new metaphor. You're given the ticket to the train. And then you're put in a box. In an old energy, the box was this: I don't know if the train is here. When is the train coming? The train could be outside waiting for me. I'm going to miss the train. So I'm going to start right now. I'm going to be prepared. That push said I should do something. I've got the information. I know it's right. I got to write the book. I got to go over here. I got to start the healing center. I got to buy the land. I got to talk to this person or something. I've got to connect. That's the train. And you're in the box. You have no idea. And so you push yourself. And the result is you do it completely and totally out of timing. Come out of the box and you realize it didn't work. Then you start blaming yourself. You don't know where the train came and went. You missed the train. Of course, that's human nature. If the train isn't there, you missed it. You never said, well, it hasn't come yet. Now let me expose the new energy. You get the ticket and you're not put in a box, because now the track is illuminated. And so you stand with the ticket and you wait for the train. Or do you? If the train is not on the track, that is a perfect signal in the daylight to say it's not ready yet. You're not getting on a train that isn't there. Are you getting this? When the train arrives, you get on it. And you begin the project. You finish it. You work on it. If the train isn't on the track, it means it's not time yet. Even if you have scheduled a time for your own project when you think you can, or when you should, or whether it's convenient, or whether it's efficient, it doesn't matter if the train isn't there. So in the new energy, the operative word is see the track, see that it's a signal to you, you're getting feedback, it's not ready. You're not in the box worrying, wondering. You're right outside looking at the track. And if the train isn't there, that means be patient. Schedule another time. Wait a bit. Because it's coming. Look, you got the ticket. The ticket is the intuition you're supposed to do this. But now in this new energy, there is a beautiful thing to say to you, that you're out of the box looking at the track. Don't pull the old paradigms into the light that says you don't know, or it's not working, or you're stuck. No, you're not. The train isn't there. Simple. And then you're going to say, well, when is it coming? You know it's coming when the puzzle starts to be complete, when the things around you are moving so it's going to work. You don't want to start something that's going to fall on its face because others aren't ready, or because the information is not complete. You don't want to start that. That's old energy things. You've all done that, dear ones, all of you. You've made it happen too soon. You've jumped the gun, as they say, because you're in the box. You didn't know. You got information and acted on it. That's what humans do. But suddenly, an old soul with wisdom will get the intuition and go, I love this information. The train isn't here yet. Dear Spirit, when the timing is right, show me. Dear Spirit, when the train has arrived, make it clear to me. That is when I will perform. That's when I'll act. And that's when everything's going to come to me that should come to me. Instead of me pushing and worrying and saying, why am I stuck? Am I getting through? It's beautiful. The light is here to show when the train is coming. Rearrange your schedule to coordinate with the messages that are being given to you so clearly. Don't interpret the messages incorrectly. See them for what they are. This is new. There is guidance here in the way things are working or not working for you. And if you push and they don't work, stop and wait until the train arrives. There has never been a time like this where the clarity of your movement is being targeted to you in this way. But so many of you listening to this are not understanding it. And now is the opportunity for you to clear the boards, cognize what I am telling you, and accept this marvelous light from Spirit that wants to guide you to the right place, take you out of the box, and make you understand that situations that you encounter are not situations that are accidental. They're giving you a message. Go, stop, wait. Never before has it been so clear. But again, in the old energy, you just thought you were stuck. So I want you to proceed from this point on with this information. Spirit is connected to you by a beautiful silver thread. All of you. And this silver thread, this metaphor, can never be broken. Whether you choose to see and use the thread is your free choice. But when you see it and you grab a hold of it, that's when the communication starts. And because it's connected to all of you, that's when you start to get simultaneous messages collectively that pull you together in coherence. To try to make things happen and will happen that haven't happened before on this planet. when the coherence between humanity reaches even a marginal point, there will be peace on earth. For the coherence is the agreement of compassion between all humanity, that you will never kill each other again by design. That is wisdom, and that comes from the light, which is going to be yours. I'm going to say this, do not misinterpret it. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You have only begun this process. So you may see things on the planet you don't understand. But know this, that this light which is coming out is going to shake up everything. And the planet is not as it used to be, will not necessarily react as it used to. But you've got to go through these gyrations in order to know what you want and what you don't. And there are not enough yet old souls on board to make it necessarily smooth. So why don't you come on board? If you're hearing this, and understand that an awakening to the light is an awakening to a longer life. It's an awakening to less anxiety and more solutions. It's an awakening to the silver thread that connects you with all humanity and the creative source, and always has. Look to the indigenous and the ancients for what they believed, what they know, and how they lived. For they honored their ancestors, which is another way of saying the wisdom that was learned before was applied to them. They honored the earth, which is to say they understood the connection between Gaia and humanity. They breathed the air that Gaia gave them and said thank you. And there was an alliance between them and all things that created something that lasted and lasted and lasted. Let this connection begin again with modern society. Let the light come out so that you will understand the signals from Spirit to go, to come, to be. What if I told you that the ancients actually had those signals? And they saw them in the animals, in the sky, in the stars, and the planet. They planned on them. They believed in them. I'll tell you, the creative source gave them what they asked for. And that's how they guided their lives. You lost it completely. Now it's time not to do what they did in that way, but to trust your intuition, ask for the guidance, know when the train is there. A return to what the ancients practiced and knew that was in general what is available today. I hope some of you leave this room differently than you came. Those listening, perhaps, can breathe a sigh of relief that nothing is wrong in their lives. You've got a beautiful ticket, some of you. And this beautiful ticket, intuition, says you've got this talent. You can put this together. You can do these things. But not yet. There'll come a time. It's going to be so obvious. You meet the right people, the right conditions show up. And you got to smile at that point and says, "Dear Spirit, here's my ticket." Believe it. Breathe easy, and you are known by God. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There is so much sacredness here. And the sacredness is generated by the intent of those in the chairs. Anytime a human being will gather with another human being and say, I'm here for one reason, I want to know more. I've heard some wild stories of perhaps things that are beyond my understanding that might change my life, might enhance those things that I would love to enhance. That's why I'm in the chair. And this creates a field in itself. Perhaps there are those of you who could feel that and have felt that and did feel that this morning when you walked in the room. Because of the numbers that are here, there is a field that is generated with intent that is so sacred and so beautiful. And it's seen. Oh, it's seen. You may have heard the premise that when you have a number of people gathered together, that there is enhanced not just abilities and power, but light itself. And with the intent that we are speaking of, it creates a field of light. Now we speak metaphorically, but consciousness truly is a part of the physics that you study today. Is it too much to imagine that intent could be seen multidimensionally? It might even have a color, dear ones. You're very attractive when you're here with intent like this. There are so many different kinds of intent, even here in the room. Even those listening. There's casual intent, I think I'll take a listen. There's intent that wants to cognize everything that is said. I want to know more because everything you've said, Kryon, has either taken place or is happening or is going to happen, and I'm on board. And between those kinds of intent, there's all the shades in between. And dear ones, all of them are appropriate. The one who simply wants to take a look is doing so with free choice. You may take a look and leave and never come back. But in that crack that you took a look, you got to see and feel the idea that you're sacred. And those who wish to cognize what is here and what is coming may enjoy the channel tonight. We told you in the channel before that the title would be this: Who do you think you are? Now that's an expression that humans would often use as an accusation. But the question in the form of the channel tonight is real. And the reason it's being asked at all, right now, the reason, you'll see in a moment. Because who you think you are shapes everything to come. Everything. Let's start this way. Let's start with the objections that some light workers have had about some of the concepts I have presented. And the objections are these: they don't work. Dear Kryon, I've heard you talk for now 20 years, and you've said you must speak to your cells. You talk to your structure, it's listening. And I have. I've got this issue, and I've been working on it, and I talk to my cells, and nothing happens. I've only one thing to conclude: doesn't work. Dear Kryon, I've heard you talk about compassion as being the key to changing those around me, to changing myself, to all of these things. I've tried so hard to be compassionate. Doesn't work. Just doesn't work. Have you got something else? Dear Kryon, I've heard you speak of God inside. I don't think so. Certainly isn't in my life. I'd like it to be. I really would like it to be. I listen to you and I'd like it to be. But then you finish and nothing's there. I'm about to expose you, oh, ones who would ask the questions. And I ask you, who do you think you are? If you had to draw a list of who you think you are, what's it look like, dear human being? And I will start the list for you. And it's fraught with bias, misunderstanding, disbelief, ignorance, and more. And you don't know it. You don't even know it. It goes like this. Who do you think you are? Okay, I'm male, I'm female, I'm so many years old. Stop. You are, really. That's how old you are. I see you wrote that down in big letters. That's how old you are. So let's discuss age for a moment. What comes with the statement, how old you are? And I'll tell you, a tremendous bias. Right away, you are acting out how old you're supposed to be based upon information that was given to you about others that age. You realize that, don't you? So however old you are, first of all, you're older than you used to be, and you don't like that. That's a bias in itself. Aging is a bias. If you don't like it, it's a bias. You think living for 900 years was a typo in Scripture? Or was it true? How did they do that? And I'll tell you, they never said, I am so many years old. Because age meant nothing. They exist. In a body, year after year, that will age, if you even want to use the word, on its own schedule. But if you are biased enough to put limits on it, you'll go right to the place where medicine says you ought to be. That is one of the biggest biases you have. Who do you think you are? Stop telling people how old you are. Do you realize what this carries with it? If any of you watch your media, have you watched the ads of how you're supposed to feel at a certain age? And what drugs you're supposed to take at a certain age because of how you're supposed to feel at a certain age? It's programming. You are programmed to age poorly. And I just said it. This doesn't simply come from media. It comes from your parents. It comes from school. It comes from society. If you didn't have a stigma on how old you were, would your chemistry be different? Bingo. Yes. Because consciousness is guiding cellular structure. How you believe is being absorbed by your body and acted upon. I'll say it again. You show up at the restaurant called life, and the menu is there, and you give an order. And then you start aging poorly. Dear ones, your food has arrived. You just ordered it, and here it is. It's as simple as that. It's on the menu, and you ordered it. And so you seem to feel a certain way because you have a certain age. Perhaps you have been told aging is a bad thing. So you continually look into the mirror to see if it's a bad thing. And your body knows what you're looking for and cooperates. It's a bad thing. Who do you think you are? Number one, I'm an ageless human being existing on this planet magnificently. I'm an ageless human being existing on this planet magnificently. And my body hears every single word I'm saying. And my cellular structure is clueless on how old I am. So don't give me a birthday party with candles, because we're not counting. I can't tell you how much that would do for you. Who do you think you are? Well, Kryon, I have a genealogy that doesn't really work for me. You see, here's what's happened in my family. Stop. You have just now told your body that any predispositions it might have with genealogy that is inherited is going to manifest. Period. That's what you told your body. And here it comes. Did you know what has been proven? Your genealogy is not in charge. Oh, it will come with inheritance. It will come with perhaps what you will call predispositions. Now, predispositions are there. They may even manifest. But dear ones, that's only if nothing happens around them. The cells of your body are designed to listen to the boss. The cells of your body are designed to listen to the boss. They are ready to be programmed. And the consciousness that you give them is the programming they will respond to better than anything else on the planet. You can program yourself out of any inheritance. Did you know that? Just like you can program your age, and the amount that you age is programmable. The amount of energy you have is programmable. And the programming to your cells comes from that which we call intent. There it is again. Consciousness, intent, can program a human being so that they can last longer, not be attracted to disease, come through life in a way that is spectacular in its peacefulness and its beauty and its elegance, instead of having to suffer through it. Number 3, you don't know what's happened to me, Kryon. No, but you just told your body that whatever's happened is just awful. And that just means that whatever happens is going to age you, and it's going to make you a victim. You programmed yourself to be a victim. And if you didn't, others have. And it just depends upon who you listen to about who is God, what the relationship is, or whether you were born dirty or magnificent. Programmed to suffer. Who do you think you are? Well, so far, you're aging badly, your genealogy is horrible, and you're a victim. Who do you think you are? That's who you think you are. I could go on and on. But here's what I want to show you. If that's who you are, how do you think that one thing that you're going to change is then going to correct everything? So the ones who say, well, that doesn't work, Kryon, give me something better, have already decided who they are. And they're used to a system that is linear. You may call it allopathic, it's not the right word. A system that is linear says this: no matter who you are, no matter what you've suffered, no matter what your genealogy, if you take a pill, it will help. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, it's going to help. And of course, you may have to take it again and again, but you get help. That's not this way. It's not the way it works, dear ones. Not with spirituality. The truth is this: how you think you are and what you believe you are is the precursor to all of the things I teach working. Did I say that correctly? You've got to change your belief before any of these things are going to come to fruition in your life. If you're going to talk to your cells, you can't give me a list that says, here's who I am. Now I'm going to talk to my cells and it's going to change everything. You've got to start at the beginning. And the beauty of this teaching is this: once you start to cognize the fact that you are magnificent in the eyes of God, of nature, you belong here, everything starts to snap in place. Because truth has that about it. It rings in your body. The cellular structures will, if they could talk, they will say, well, it's about time. What do you have for us today? What's your order today? What's on the menu today? How about health and peace and you name it? What about a system where the years don't matter? That there's no stigma anymore. That your body has to do something at a certain time because you've assigned numbers to it. This is not true. It isn't. And so in this channel, the beauty of the message is this: that when you begin to realize who you are, things start to chain react and they affect others' things in benevolent ways. It's almost like the truth rings in your cellular structure to such a degree, in such a way, the strings on a guitar, for instance, that are tuned together, and you pluck one and the vibration affects the other, and it comes into tune and affects the other, and it starts to vibrate and come into tune. And soon the body gets it. And then all the things you've been telling each string for all these years and all these points, 1, 2, 3, 4, they start to drop away. And you start to realize that just wasn't right. That wasn't right. Here's something we brought up before. This is important, dear ones. It has to do with the integrity of knowledge. This is important. Some of the most profound things you may have learned from your instructors, from your priests, through your shamans, are now starting to drop away in their accuracy. And in that, you feel you will betray them if you cross over to a new truth. That is very real. And you will say, well, but my parents gave me this. And it's what I believe. The mom and dad, they gave me the best they could. It's what I believe. I really loved this pastor I had, and he was just the best man. He's gone now, but I'll always remember what he told me. And that's the way I live my life right now. And suddenly we come along with a whole different idea that goes beyond any of that. And many won't move off that peg because of this. The integrity of the people that you loved who gave you truths that now are starting to slip away. And how do you get through that? Well, there are several ways. Number one, if they're deceased, they now know better. They're here, they're cheering you on. But number two, in your memory, they were giving you in full integrity the best they had. The best they had. And there's nothing wrong with that. If they had what you know today, do you think that they would give that to you? They would. So there's nothing shameful at all or betraying about moving forward and accepting a bigger truth. You control your biology. You control not only how you age and how fast you age, but what happens chemistry as you age. This is so important because part of the scenario is how disease would attach itself to you. I've told you before that as human consciousness starts to evolve to a higher level, it will change the entire body. Because all of your cells are receptors and listening for instructions. And a higher consciousness will give higher kinds of instructions. And in that, eventually, there will be a body that will not accept disease because it's smarter than it used to be. You all understand that you have something called the smart body. And again, I'm going to give you the example of how consciousness works, like homeopathy. You accept homeopathy. Interesting, isn't it, that the fact that this country doesn't have much homeopathy is political. And it's not what you think. It doesn't really have to do with your medicine. It has to do with what happened with the English. When you became Americans and won that war, by the way, you did, you threw away everything European. You threw away their accent, you threw away their medicine, you threw away their religion. You didn't want anything to do with the Church of England. On and on. And part of that was homeopathy. And today when you go to Europe, it's everywhere. And here, it's nowhere. Let's talk about that. Not the fact that it's anywhere you want to find it, dear ones, in your country, you can find it. But the idea of it, it's a conceptual idea that works with the body. Again, we tell you this. Listen to this and understand the logic. A tincture is a design of a minuscule chemical that would send a signal to the body of what the one using the tincture is asking for in healing or peace. Not limited only to chemistry. And the science will look at the tincture and say it's too small for a chemical reaction anywhere, anytime. It's simply too small. Therefore, it cannot do anything chemically. And they're right. They're right. And yet it works. So here is the answer to why it works and the truth about it, which will tie right into the theme of who do you think you are? A tincture under the tongue is an instruction set that's designed that under the tongue, sublingually, the body receives and acts on. Did you get that? So no chemical reaction. It is an instruction set, elegantly designed as that which is instructions to the body on what to do. And then the body does it. And homeopathy works. All right, turn the page. I've just shown you something. I've just shown you proof. The body is listening. The cells want instructions. And you can do it several ways. And one of them, proven, is homeopathy. And the other one is with consciousness. What about consciousness, elegantly designed, through words that you would say or thoughts that you would generate when you answer the questions, who do you think you are? Because the body receives the instructions that you give it through everyday life. Are you a victim or not? What's your genealogy like? How old are you? I tied this into this morning when I said, I want you to forget everything you were told. Everything that would then posture who you think you are. And start over. You want to write a list? Do it. Read it out loud? Do it. Let the body hear it? Do it. I am an ageless human, magnificent, here on purpose to create light. My genealogy is controllable and programmable. And I give it instructions daily. And you go on from there. The things that happen in my life, I have brought to myself. And now, in that I understand it, I will no longer bring negative things into my life. What are your weaknesses? Don't list them. I am afraid of this or that. And instead, you will say the opposite. These are things that used to bother me, which I have conquered. And your body hears it and sees it. And they are simple things. They're habits that you can cure instantly. As easy as my partner did with being seasick all of his life. And in one session, He was no longer. Dear ones, this is the power you have. And it's not simply about ridding yourself of some awful disease. It's everyday life. One of the attributes you might say, I get angry easily. If you said that and you think that's you, you will get angry easily. I have buttons that people press when they talk about religion and politics. My mother bothers me. I have trouble with my family. And the body hears it all. That's who I am. Who do you think you are? That's who I am. And you think you can come to a meeting and hear something about how to correct this or that and try it and it's going to work? It isn't. Until you start knowing who you are. Coming along with the program shouldn't shock you. Truth is beautiful. You're none of those things you thought you were. The idea of having trouble with this person or that person is reprogrammable. Honestly, I want you to try it. We've said this over and over. To walk into the cauldron of drama that used to bother you with a new attitude and watch what happens when you tell your body, these things are not going to bother me or hurt me. I'm going to have peace and I'm going to see God in those people. That's what I'm going to do. And it takes practice, doesn't it? But it works. Have any of you noticed that when you start doing that, the people that bother you leave? Because they're not getting the reaction anymore. If they can't leave because they're related, they stop bothering you. Because they're not getting the reaction anymore. You've disconnected the button. And so you can stand there and start erasing the things on your list. This person bothers me. I can't do this. I can't do that. And pretty soon you see you have a clean slate of magnificence. And you start to realize, I'm in control. I really am in control. And then you can start talking to yourselves, and then you can start doing the things that we have told you about over and over that work, and they work, and they work. But you can't just walk in as a victim with diseases, knowing their genealogy is awful, aging badly, and expect to plug in these things and have a miracle. Is that offensive to you? Or does it make sense? The biggest one, I said 4 times already. I am born magnificent. I'm here on purpose. I'm here for a reason. I can manufacture light. If there are enough like me on this planet, we'll all manufacture light. And the whole planet is going to change. What about that? Maybe you came here today to hear that. Who do you think you are? I am talking to old souls who can do everything I've said. You've been here and you've done that. You have an akash that is filled with wisdom of how things work. What I've just given you is not pablum for the soul. It's advanced. But I'm talking to those who I should be talking to, who know of what I speak. I'm in Kryon in love with humanity. And so it is.
Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I wish to continue the theme of love. I want to give you an idea of something so simple, yet so powerful. And within the explanation, to show you how some of the older paradigms of the planet might have to be broken in order for the simplicity to come through. What if I've told you that you have overcomplicated God? This comes, dear ones, from the humanism idea that grand things must be complicated. The old paradigm of human perception is filled with old consciousness and old ideas in old ways. Good for their time, working for their time, but it doesn't mean that you have to pull them in to something that is brand new. We've spoken of the energy which is new. It's not the energy necessarily, dear ones, it's the paradigm of reality, of what is today as opposed to what was yesterday. And here's how it goes. I've heard people say, Kryon, we listen to you. We like what you have to say, and we're starting to apply some of it. However, we need to know something. What is your belief system? What are you teaching? And what I would say back to that is there is no system. And the human would say there must be. For when you look around the planet, all of those who believe in the creative source have some kind of structure. And in that structure there are rules. And in the rules, therefore, are the right and wrong ways to do things that would then enhance the worship or the knowledge of the Creator. Kryon, in that, where do you fit? What do we tell our friends when we say we want them to hear Kryon and they say, well, what are the rules? What's the system? I want to ask you something. What if, just for a moment, follow this idea that you could pretend for just a moment that your soul could stand before the Creator of all things, all by itself, and suddenly the eyes of God were on you, and you could ask the question to the creative source, what is your system? There would be a smile and an overwhelming feeling of caring and compassion when the creative source said, there is no system, there is only love. And if you came back to the planet, you would say, you know, there is only love from the creative source. And the humans would say, well, yes, that's correct, but you are not God. You have to have a system in order to make sense of that which you don't understand, which is God. And this is the difference, dear ones, between an old and a new energy. What if I told you there is no system? Love is not a system. Love is a reality. It is an existence. It is what it is. Love contains all of the attributes of everything you'd ever have to know or be or do in order to have the right kind of living and the right kind of life before God. Because you become that essence which has no system, which is one with everything. There's so much that we could tell you here that is starting to shift and change. You know this. We've said this before, that when a human falls in love with another human, in those first days, when it even affects your system, and you feel just a little crazy. And it's beautiful. That should tell you right then, if one of you asks the other one, well, let's stop for a moment and analyze the system. You don't, because there is no reason, because love is pure and complete. And if it's true love, it lasts a very long time because of those attributes. If you walk into nature, dear ones, in the middle of the trees and the forests, and you said to the trees, what is the system of nature? The trees would smile at you and say, there is no system. And you would say, well, certainly there is. Look at all of the things that go into making you exist, and you've got to relate to it all. And the trees would say, you see, we relate to it because it's a relationship. A tree will have a relationship with the dirt, with the insects and the birds and the sun, and with carbon dioxide and with oxygen. The relationship is what each tree has, and it's different from tree to tree. But overall, the relationship is about oneness with all things. The tree doesn't have a set of rules that tells it how to live, or where it can put its roots, or what is pleasing or not pleasing to a God that created the tree. And that is one of the reasons why you can walk into nature and feel so free, realizing that there is no system of do's and don'ts, because it is self-evident and common sense that the relationship takes care of all of it. There'll come a day when people will not ask you what box you're in anymore. And you say, the relationship is good enough. And so I answer, what is the system? No system. It's called love. Because love and that relationship you would have with the Creator itself contains absolutely everything you'd ever need to know. When you have love and compassion, the rules, if you want to call them the rules, are self-evident and common sense on how you treat the one next to you, the ones that you meet that you don't know. The attitude of life that you would have walking into strange places. It changes the way you think about luck, if you even want to use the word. It starts to make you understand that the relationship to the Creator is a design that you create as well. And where you walk, you create love. This is simpler, dear ones, than a set of rules that you have to adhere to. Do you really think that the Creator of the universe cares what you wear? And there are those who do. Because in an old energy, they have created human rules with human ideas and human perceptions, thinking that these are what God would have. And in a new energy on this planet that is starting to appear, all by itself because of what you've done, and this shift starts to become self-evident, more and more will turn away from a system, a belief, and instead intertwine themselves in the beautiful relationship of love. We have said so many times that the word love to you has so many meanings and it only goes so far. But I will say to you that it is endless and it's enormous. It's more beautiful than anything you can even begin to imagine. The light of 1,000 suns is a drop in the bucket to the light of the love of the Creator. And in that, I tell you also that your soul carries all of it. When the prophet Elijah walked into the field, he was going to ascend, and he knew that. And the ascension of Elijah is a metaphor for who humans are. Ascension meant that he was going to leave his corporal body, that body that he has, corporeal in nature, and it would vanish, and he would then become the soul that walks the earth, just like you. And he knew what was going to happen, and so he had his understudy, Elisha, write it down. Don't miss a thing, he said. Tell everything you see. And Elisha saw so many metaphors and so many things written so carefully in Scripture. But the biggest thing he saw was this, that Elijah turned into the light of 1,000 suns. Too bright to look at, unbelievable to any human being that there could be a light that bright. That was Elisha's soul. And dear ones, it's just like yours. It is pure, without rules, without systems. Because love is self-evident in its compassion, and it tells the story through its intuition of how you would live and receive and give to every other human or living thing on the planet. It's so beautiful and elegant in its instructions, so intuitive, that the proof is this, is that when you meet someone else who has that love, you meet them eye to eye and you see them as family. Because you both understand exactly what I'm talking about. This is not the new age, dear ones. But that was the name given to something before that had rules. It bothers many that the believers here in this room would not have a prophet or a place to go to with a name or a set of rules or a denomination. And they would be seen as floaters without a home and without a center. And dear ones, that is the perception of an old energy that needed to be grounded in rules, in beliefs, that put a veil before God. Blessed is the human being who understands this and strips away all of that, if even for a moment to test it and say, is love enough? And the answer will always be more than enough. This is the message we will continue to give on this planet that continues to change with new paradigms that become self-evident. And so it is.